John, this comes from an officer in Tennessee. He says, is there any clear definition or guidelines of when a guest, right, cousin Eddie, right, Christmas vacation, cousin Eddie, becomes a resident or a tenant? Example, a person tells a friend, hey, yeah, you can come crash on the couch for a few days till you get things figured out. At what point does it become an eviction process to get the person removed versus they are a guest and they can be told to leave, on a whim, right? Just, hey, beat it, right? You bother me, you snore, or you're eating on my food. I can't find anything clear in Tennessee code or any type of case law. The officer does recognize that he's not sure this is a search and seizure question, but here's the deal. First of all, I think we can both agree, John, when we answer this, that we have not researched this, okay? And nor can we, because we don't have time, unfortunately, to research statutory issues like this. But I do have some advice on this. I have some guidance here. What I think states are kind of looking for. With at least I know in Nevada. Do you have any? Do you get these questions in your class sometimes?
Well, and I can tell you the answer in Arizona, right? And that's
okay. And I can say the answer in Nevada. Let me see if they're the same. So what's the answer in Arizona?
So the Landlord-Tenant Act in Arizona says if you have any kind of a contractual agreement, meaning you stay here this long in exchange for this, right? If there is some kind of valuable consideration, if there is some kind of deal worked out. So if the person says, hey, you stay here for a week and buy groceries, even if the person never buys groceries, we now have a contractual agreement.
The only problem with that definition, which is absolutely correct, I think in every state, I mean, I think we can safely say that, any kind of contractual agreement would develop a tenancy, but there is something called a tenancy at will, which is when you don't have a contract and you just have this agreement. So in Nevada, this is based on case law, by the way, right? This is case law. This is not statutory, but in Nevada, there are cases that talk about when you let somebody into your home and the agreement is that they are going to basically say indefinitely, right? Hey, the classic example, I think, maybe classic to me at least, is, hey, friend, ex-wife, whatever, you need to get back on your feet. I'll help you. Come to my house, help when you can. You don't have to have money, by the way, for tenancy at will. It's the agreement that we're looking for. Come into the house, get back on your feet, stay as long as you need to. That in Nevada, that creates a tenant, and that person cannot be evicted without a 10-day notice. It actually turns into sometimes more than that. So that's the problem with these cases, though, right? Is because my cops in Nevada do not know, they're not lawyers, right? Except you were a cop and a lawyer, but they're not lawyers for the most part. So they don't know what tenancy at will is. So here's what I teach, generally speaking. Just I kind of push this on the shoulders of the sergeant, but you were, right. I'm like, at the end of the day, if you go to a residence, this is my advice to my Tennessee cop. This is kind of like what I would think. If you go to a residence and it's like, you can tell that, or you have reason to believe that they were like, hey, stay here indefinitely, no precise time, right? It's not like Cousin Eddie. Remember, Cousin Eddie said he was leaving the next month, right? So Cousin Eddie is a guest and he can be revoked at any time. You would agree with that, John? As a guest can overstay their welcome at any time. Like you're eating on my food or your dog is going to the trash, right?
Yeah.
But a tenant cannot be revoked at will. You have to go through the eviction process. And the reason why there's a huge public policy reason, statutorily and by case law, is because we do not want to create homelessness where people think that they're going to be living here indefinitely. Then they have a spat, and next thing you know, beat it, right? So I had a search and seizure instructor that works in Nevada. He told cops, hey, if you don't have anything in writing, they can the leaseholder can like kick people out. So he said, and this is crazy, but he said, for example, you have a girlfriend living with her boyfriend for 2 years, but she doesn't pay rent and she doesn't have a lease. They get into an argument. He says, beat it. He said the cops can help evict her immediately. And that is not the law, not in Nevada, because it's a tenancy at will.
Really bad practice.
It really is bad practice. Really and so the reason I bring this up is because, quite frankly, with these like tricky issues, that's why we have these disclaimers that if you don't really know what the answer is, which you probably don't, put it on the shoulders of the sergeant and let them make the decision. Because if we get sued on this, let them go to court. I mean, it's true though. That's why they're a supervisor. Let them make the decision. And that we don't know, and maybe they have different knowledge or different experience. So that's my answer there. If they look like a tenant, like they're staying there indefinitely, I would be very careful. You might want to have eviction orders.
Yep.
Would you agree with that overall, John? It's kind of good advice.
100%. Best practices. If it looks like they're living there, be very.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Be very, very careful. Even if